My mom lied to me about who my real dad is, and he just showed up for the first time. My mom is 39F. I'm 17M and my real dad is late 30s maybe? Sorry if this is incoherent, but my mind is racing right now. My dad died when I was 8 years old. Well, the man I thought was my dad did. My mom dated other men, but she's never remarried or had a serious live-in boyfriend since, so I've basically been without a dad since I was 8. But earlier today, this man came into my work. I work at a movie theater in the concession stand, by the way. So this man came in and kept letting people go ahead of him in line until I was done helping the customer I was with. I didn't think anything at first, but this guy was kind of nervous but was trying to talk to me. He asked what I recommended eating and what kind of movies I liked. He seemed friendly but shy, and I was just being polite and having conversations like we're supposed to with customers. Anyway, he paid and left, and I didn't see him when his movie finished because it was busy. Or maybe he didn't even watch a movie. I don't know. Anyway, I got off work a little bit ago, and when I got home, that same man was in my living room talking to my mom, and it kind of creeped me out, and my mom started panicking when I asked who he was. And she just kept saying he's no one, he's leaving. But the man said he wasn't leaving until we talked and said she needed to tell me the truth. Well, you can guess from the title, he said he's my dad. I just felt this twist in my stomach. My mom started rambling, saying that my dad who died was my real dad, how much he loved me and took care of me, and that this doesn't change that. The thing is, something happened last year that made me question my mom about my dad and my medical history. She said she didn't know anything about it, but today I just yelled at her that she could have told me then and there that he wasn't my biological father, but she didn't. I asked if this man was telling the truth, and she just started crying and nodding. I guess I didn't notice at the theater because it was never something I would even think of, but looking at him, it's pretty clear we're related since he looks so much like me. Or I guess I look like he is more accurate. He tried to talk to me and swore he never knew I existed or he would have been in my life. My mom didn't deny any of this. I asked her if this man was dangerous, an abusive ex, or something. He was offended, and she assured me it wasn't that at all. She wanted to sit down and talk, but I just felt so nauseous and overwhelmed, so I just grabbed my keys and told my mom I was staying at my best friend Josh's house for the night. I came here, and Josh was sympathetic and let me vent, but he fell asleep, and now I'm just here awake, and my brain won't shut off. I feel so betrayed by my mom. How could she not tell me the truth? When I was little, I understood, but I'm old enough to know where I come from. It feels so unfair that she denied me a father for half my life. I loved my dad, who died. And I still miss him, but I've wanted a father for so long. There's so much I've gone through that I feel like having a dad would have been so much better and easier. I love my mom, and she's been incredible at raising me, but it's not the same as having a dad. Especially when this guy is my actual dad, and it seems like he would have been there if he knew. I don't know what to say to him. Or to my mom. I know I have to go home eventually, but I just don't know what I'm supposed to say or do. He probably hates me and thinks I'm a crybaby because I cried and stormed out. I feel lost. Update 1. I think I did this right. My first post is here. Sorry for the length. I just wanted to answer all the questions I got in the first post. Also, I tried to post this yesterday, but it wouldn't let me because it hadn't been 48 hours yet. I know I didn't reply to any comments after the first few hours that my original post was up. I woke up the next morning and saw a bunch of new comments. Though I didn't reply, I did read all of them, good and bad. I appreciate all the advice given and the kind words spoken. But like many people suggested, the only thing I could really do was talk to both of them to figure out what the real story was. So I went home and talked to my mom. I was much calmer, with a clearer head, and was ready to hear what she had to say. I probably learned more than anyone should ever have to about their own conception. It turns out my father really isn't an abusive ex, my mom didn't cheat on my adoptive dad or anything shady like that. I'm just the product of a one-night stand. My mom said she went out drinking by herself at a bar and met my dad, who was celebrating his 25th birthday alone. She said she had just been dumped by her fiancé, not my adoptive dad, a different man, a week before that because she had learned from her doctor that it was virtually impossible for her to have children naturally. She said she and my dad used a condom, and yet somehow she still got pregnant with me, and I'm her miracle baby considering the circumstances. She went back to the hotel that he took her to after she found out she was pregnant, but they couldn't find any information on my dad ever staying there. He didn't give her his actual first name. Explained in more detail later in the post, she said this was before social media was a thing, so she couldn't just search him online like we can nowadays. So she decided she would just raise me on her own. She also admitted she panicked when my bio dad showed up because, to her, he was literally just a guy she knew for one night 17 years ago. She didn't really know who he was now or if he was going to try to get custody of me or if I was going to want to run away with him or something. She admits she could have been calmer from the beginning, and maybe we could have all talked and sorted it out that night, but I don't blame her for it. As for my adoptive dad, the man who raised me, she said she didn't meet him until I was almost 2. They got married when I was 3. He officially adopted me after they got married. She showed me the adoption certificate. Reflecting on it now, I realize I've never seen pictures of him and me when I was a baby. Just pictures of me as a toddler and up. She said he accepted me as his own, loved me, and was a father to me. I told her my bio shows that showing up doesn't rewrite history. I'll never not see my adoptive dad as my father. If anything, it makes me love him even more that he treated and loved me as his own flesh and blood. I also ended up talking to my dad. He left his number, which my mom gave me. We met up for lunch. He confirmed my mom's whole story. I gave him SHT about using a fake name. It wasn't so cut and dry. He said he goes by his middle name, which is what he told her that night. He showed me his business card, which does have the name he told my mom that night. And I've since looked him up, using the name he gave my mom, which nowadays he's very easy to find, and his entire online presence uses his middle name. He has comments on his Facebook from friends and family calling him that name going back years. Apparently he only goes by his actual first name for legal and business reasons, like checking into a hotel. He said that night he was depressed that his best friend didn't live to celebrate their 25th birthday together. They had the same birthday, and that's why he drove to our town to get away from everyone and everything back home for a night. He apologized a million times and said he would have been in my life if he had known, especially because I inherited a medical condition from him, and it really sucked dealing with that and having to learn to adjust to it alone. He was diagnosed with it when he was 19, so he knew what I went through. I could tell he genuinely felt awful about it. I asked him how he even found out about me, and apparently he has a son who is only 5 months younger than me. So his ex-wife's mom is a teacher, and she saw a picture that my school's website posted of the academic team I'm on. She had sent it to my dad, thinking I might be related to him because we look so alike. He said he has a brother he hasn't spoken to in over 20 years, so they both initially thought I could be his nephew, but he found my Instagram, which is public, and he said when he saw a picture of me and my mom on it, he instantly recognized her, and he knew I was his. And I know people will ask, but no, he did not cheat on his ex-wife with my mom. He didn't meet her until a couple months after the night with my mom. He even admitted they only got married because she got pregnant early in the relationship, and they're divorced now because they're not actually compatible. He offered proof and even called her himself right there to confirm, but I told him it wasn't necessary. He had visited my mom earlier the day that he visited me at work and confirmed with her, even though he already knew between my face and the math lining up. But he said he went to the theater anyway because, even though he had seen pictures of me, he said he had to see me for himself in person. He said we still need to do a DNA test to establish paternity, so he can add me to his insurance. But between our faces, my birth date, and us having the same rare medical condition, it's obvious he's my dad. Even the waitress made a nonchalant comment about us being father and son. He asked if we could start having visits to get to know each other, and of course I said yes. I want to know him. Even though I still feel some anger toward him, and I don't really even know why exactly, I want to have him in my life. My mom said I can't go to his house for Christmas or even at all. He lives an hour away, until she feels comfortable with me leaving to visit him. But she said he could come visit on Christmas night, and we'd go from there. At the end of lunch, I brought out my debit card to pay for half of the meal. I didn't really know what the etiquette was for a first lunch with a biological parent as a teenager. He just laughed and said I'm his son, and I don't ever have to pay for anything when I'm with him. I don't know why, but that made me feel really good. And then he made a joke about owing my mom 17 years of child support anyway, which really just eased the whole situation. He walked with me to my car and gave me a hug, which made me start crying. I know it's cringeworthy, and I was embarrassed that I was crying in the middle of a diner parking lot, but I just felt an instant connection to him when he hugged me, even though he's still basically a stranger to me. He said some stuff to me while he was hugging me, and he just let me cry for a couple minutes. It's still early, I know, but I can just tell he's a good man. Regardless of who he was when he met my mom and whatever happened that night, I mean, he sought me out after learning about me, so that has to count for something, right? He could have pretended he never saw my Instagram. Or even after talking to my mom and her sending him away. Or after meeting me at the movie theater. Or after I stormed out when he came to talk that same night. He had so many chances to walk away, but he didn't give up. That shows me that he really does want to have a relationship with me. Anyway, now my issue is scrambling to find him a last-minute Christmas present. I have no idea what to get him. He's a lawyer, so from what I could tell from Googling him and the address he gave me, he's rich. He probably has everything he already wants. If anyone has any ideas what a man in his early 40s would want or be able to make use of as a Christmas gift, I'd love some suggestions. Update 2. Hi everyone. I wasn't really planning on posting another update, but people have asked and messaged me wanting to know what happened on Christmas. I'll try to keep this one briefer than my last post. In short, it was the best Christmas I've had in years. And I just want to thank this sub for the advice on the photo album gift. It was, honestly, the perfect gift. So my dad ended up FaceTiming me on Christmas morning while he was at his parents' house. He had told them about me the night before, and they didn't want to wait to meet me, so we video chatted for a little bit. They seem like really nice people. They just kept complimenting me, my academic achievements, and saying how I looked so much like my dad when he was my age. They want to meet me soon, but they live a few hours away, so it will take some time to set something up. I also very briefly talked to my half-brother on the same call. Our dad kind of put us on the spot. I think he was just excited for us to meet. We said hi, and I said Merry Christmas, and he said it back, and then he told our dad, I don't know what else you want me to say before walking away, so yeah, not the introduction I was imagining. But he and I are set to meet in person on New Year's Eve, so I'm hoping that meeting goes a lot better. My dad showed up alone on Christmas night. Half his brother was at his mom's house for Christmas, and brought 2 huge boxes of Christmas gifts. He bought me a ton of clothes and shoes, practically a new wardrobe. And I can actually see myself wearing most of the stuff he bought. He also got me an iPad Pro and a gaming PC. He said he wanted to get me a PS5, but they're notoriously hard to get, so he's going to keep an eye out and grab me one as soon as he can. Honestly, I'm surprised he was able to get me as much as he did, considering we made the plan the week before Christmas. He also bought my mom a few things, which I think really surprised her, but she was very grateful. I actually felt really bad that I only got him one gift in comparison, but thankfully he really liked it. I thought he didn't at first because he started crying, looking at all the pictures of me, and started apologizing again, saying he was sorry he was never there. But he did say he loved it, and it was a very thoughtful gift. He especially loved that I made a page for our first Christmas photo and that I asked if we could fill out the rest of the album together. Also, I did include one page of pictures of me and my adoptive dad. I didn't want the album to be full of pictures of my adoptive dad so as not to seem insensitive, but I also wanted my biological dad to know he was an important part of my life. After that, we just spent the night talking, setting up my new PC, and watching It's a Wonderful Life, my favorite Christmas movie. Before I told him that it was my favorite, he said it was in his top 3 Christmas movies, but now it's his favorite too because we watched it together. It got really late, so my mom let him stay in the guest room so he didn't have to drive back home. He lives an hour away, in the dark and rainy weather. He treated us to breakfast the next morning and invited us to stay at his house for New Year's Eve, which, surprisingly, my mom said we could go. One final note, a few comments told me that my adoptive dad was and will always be my dad too, and I agree 100%. A couple days ago, I went to the cemetery to visit his grave and talk to him. This is the first time I've ever gone there alone. Truthfully, I don't know if I really believe in heaven or the afterlife. But on the off chance that he is out there somewhere watching over us, I wanted him to know that no matter how close I may get to my biological dad, he will never replace my adoptive dad in my heart. So that's about it. I'm meeting my half-brother in person in a couple days. And hopefully my paternal grandparents soon after. Also, we're getting the paternity test done on Monday, but that really is just a formality, mostly for insurance purposes, at this point. Thank you again for all the advice in both of my previous posts. I hope you all had a great Christmas and have a happy New Year.